welcome to European Drag Racing Championships 2006. We're at Santa Pod, just outside London, and it's all happening here today. The sun is out, the mood is high. Darryl, what's going to be happening in this episode?
Today's going to be a great day. We've got action from top Methanol Dragster and top Methanol Funny Car, two of the fastest classes in the whole of drag racing. It's going to be fantastic.
Well, I'm Michelle Orp.
And I'm Darryl Bradford.
And I'm going to head over to the crowd to see what's going on.
And there is a big crowd for you to head to here, Michelle. It's one of the biggest events in the drag racing calendar in 2006. It's the main event at Santa Pod, the first round of the FIA European Drag Racing Championship, and there's thousands here.
What's your favourite class?
I like the funny cars and the hot rods.
Especially funny cars. I like the old funny cars.
The funny cars are your favourite?
Yeah.
And why? What makes them your favourite?
Well, the noise makes you... And the old ground vibrates, that's what I like most.
How's the atmosphere in the crowd?
As usual, absolutely fantastic at Santa Pod. Been coming here for years. Always a great atmosphere.
We're here for everything. It's a family day.
Welcome back. We're here in the pits with Leif Andreasen, driver of one of the most awesome top Methanol Funny cars in Europe. Leif's been competing for years, and what I'd like to do is, Leif, just ask you, can you give us a few basics about what a top Methanol Funny car is?
It's not so hard to tell. It's a steel frame, a tubular frame, and it got a methanol burning engine, V8, about 9 liter, and it produces about 3,500 horsepower.
Excellent. And do you have, how does the body on the car work?
The body is actually a shell. It's like a shell on an egg. So it looks like more like a real car. And as you know, we're running the Dodge body, and there are different bodies out here, and that's the way it is.
So I know that the Dodge is a very, very streamlined body. How do you think everything's shaping up for you this year? And also tell us a little about your deal with the Swedish Armed Forces.
To start with, we're trying to do our best. We're going to try to get back on the numbers we used to run for a couple of years ago, and hopefully we're going to do that. Regarding the new sponsor, the Swedish Armed Forces, that's a big hit for us actually, and Kamasa Tools and ESAB and the rest of the sponsors, they really love to be together with the Army. And we're going to be the marketing tool for the Swedish Army as well.
Excellent. It sounds like a really, really good deal. Well, I hope everything goes really well for you this year. Let's take a look at qualifying and some of the competitors we're going to be seeing this weekend.
You know, Leif Andreasen looks as good outside the cars he does in it with that camouflage suit. Here he is, qualified in the number 2 spot, alongside Germany's Jürgen Nagel in his Camaro, who qualified with that run. Number 5, Jürgen, here he is working on his car, builds the whole car himself. Very, very clever man. Another man looking good in 2006 is this man in the Dodge Avenger, the Boxster-sponsored Dodge Avenger. That's Denmark's Dan Larson, and running alongside, stopping on the start line, Ulf Leanders. Leanders has had a bit of a problem over the last few years, but suddenly here in 2006, it all comes right. He's the number 1 qualifier. Let's find out what it's like to drive one of these cars.
The cars is running so fast and they are so brutal to drive. They are very short wheelbase cars and very powerful.
Well, powerful they are. Over 3,000 horsepower in these machines. Really take a lot of driving, handling. The engine is in front of the driver, but he makes good work of that one.
We have been the top runners for the last years, and I definitely think we can win the championship, and I believe we do.
Well, tight at the top there. Ulf Leanders, 585, 242 miles an hour. These really are fantastic machines. Leif Andreasen, number 2, Dan Larson, number 3. It's going to be a great year.
I'm joined by Keith Bartlett, promoter of the FIA European Drag Racing Championships. Now, Keith, please tell us, why is a funny car called a funny car?
Well, it goes back right to the early 60s in America, when the factories were supporting their pro stock classes. They were called factory experimental, and they became the great sale of race on Sunday, sell on Monday. And they started to modify those cars more and more, so the spectators began to say, that's a funny looking car, and it kind of stuck. And then those factory experimental got nicknamed funny car, and within 10 years they were actually identified and officially called funny cars.
Excellent, well now you know. Well, we're now heading over to the funny car quarterfinals.
Yeah, we do, don't we? There we are. Ulf Leander's #1 qualifier gets a bye into the next round. Dan Larson from Denmark up against Kjell Sjöblom from Sweden, and Leif Andreasen from Sweden against Jürgen Nagel from Germany. But first of all, Daryl, Ulf Leanders must be feeling real good. He's had a problem, and of course the other big thing about 2006 is that the previous champion is no longer in this class. He's moved up to Top Fuel. That's Urs Urbacher.
Yeah, Urs Urbacher's out the way. Well, effectively out the way for the Top Methanol Funny Car boys. He's moved up into Top Fuel. Also, Nicholas Andersson has moved into another class as well. That car's not going to be running this season, so it really does leave the door open for any one of these other drivers.
Here's our next pair then. It is Denmark against Sweden, and Kjell Sjöblom coming through here with his funny car. Now then, he's a comparative newcomer. We see him every now and again at Santa Pod, but the man we see more often than not is the man from Denmark who was a heavy hitter from last year, Denmark's Dan Larson.
Yeah, Dan Larson really back on form with this one. A tremendous 582, 244 mile an hour win there for him. And qualifying, he didn't do quite as well as we normally expect, but he moves through into the semi-finals. Last pair, #2 qualifier, that man in the camouflage, Leif Andreasen, up against Germany's Jürgen Nagel. Now, Leif had a much better time in qualifying, but unfortunately managed to take out the finish line reflectors, so the body looks slightly more patched and camouflaged than it did when we saw it a little earlier in the show.
Well, that is a Dodge Stratus, that body. It really is, up to the minute. But Jürgen Nagel, he knew he had to try and get a good start away from the start line. He went before the green came on, and automatically he is eliminated. He gets a red light on the tree, and that means that Leif Andreasen goes through. And this is how it looks. Leanders against Larson, and Andreasen on a bye into the next round.
Well, the first matchup, this could be the final at any round throughout the year. Ulf Leanders, #1 qualifier, seeming to be the man this weekend, up against Denmark's Dan Larson, previous #2 in the championship. Both very tough racers indeed, John.
Now, I tell you what, these cars are different from their Top Fuel cousins, of course, because these machines have gearboxes and they actually change gear on the way down the track.
Yeah, they take quite a bit of hanging on to. 3,000 horsepower, changing gear and nearly changing lanes. But into the starting line bees, both the way almost together. Ulf Leanders with a slight advantage. What a tremendous race. And Ulf Leanders just takes it by a car length, 577 to 582. Well, that's more like the racing we expect to see in Top Methanol Funny Car. Absolutely fantastic, and Ulf just squeaks it out.
Very close, 600ths of a second.
Yeah.
So does that make it worse that it was so close?
Yeah, because we could have done something more with the car if we have the time to get a little more horsepower out of it. But we do what we do last run, so we will not make a big step.
Leif Andreasen, all on his own. He's got a bye run through into the final. Now, I know this guy. He's going to be so happy to be in a final. Lots and lots of problems through 2005, but suddenly the new sponsorship on the car has brought forward a whole new workout for this man, and suddenly things are going well. Just spraying on de-icer onto that bug catcher so that it doesn't freeze up. Methanol's a very cool burning fuel. So let's see how he gets on. He's on a bye run, really bounces around a tremendous amount, but goes through with a 5.80. Things are really getting good for Leif Andreasen, and he's looking forward to that final.
Leif Andreasen, you're through to the final. What are your expectations?
Hopefully we're going to win the finals. We've been stepping up and we changed some setup for this season, and the car is running better. Actually, it feels pretty good, and we're running 580 flat last run, so we hope we're going to win.
And what do you think of your opponent?
Leanders, the Leanders, they are tough. They've been running good for years now, so hopefully we're back on track and we're going to have a tough final.
Well, here is the man who he's going to be meeting in the final. The Leanders brothers run this car. Jürgen on the outside of it, but the man in the hot seat, as always, Ulf Leanders.
We're here in the pits with top Methanol Funny Car finalist Ulf Leanders. Now, Ulf won the last event of the season last year at the European Finals, and I bet you're hoping to pick up where you left off this weekend.
Absolutely. Right now the car is running very good. We had some problems in the qualifying, but we kind of fixed that right now, so now everything is perfect.
So you're going to beat Leif in the final?
We hope so. I'm very confident the car is running good and very consistent, and I think we beat him.
I tell you what, in my years as a drag racing commentator, I've always watched these Methanol funny cars with interest. They always put on a great race, and this final, I'm sure we're going to enjoy this. There's two Swedish drivers side by side. This beautiful Dodge Stratus coming up against the Pontiac Firebird of Ulf Leanders. It's Leif Andreasen. They're away together. Look at this. So very close. That bumpiness for Leif Andreasen, but he takes the win. And a great run. He's got quicker and quicker as the weekend has gone by, and finishes it off with a 5.77. It don't get no better than that.
This is my new life.
What was
Actually, we've been struggling for a couple of years with this car, 2 years actually, and then we started to move on, and we talked to some partners in the States that we're working with, and without the sponsor, Kamasa Tools, Isav, Swedish Army, Hiab, and of course Malte Månsson. Jesus, I'm almost crying. This is so
I
cool.
can feel the emotion coming from
Wow.
you, Leif. Now, you said earlier you were going to do it, and you've done it.
Yeah.
You're the winner.
With an absolutely incredible crew. They've done a hell of a job this weekend. We destroyed bodies and all this.
Well, what a first weekend, and what a way to debut a new sponsor for Leif Andreasen with the Swedish Armed Forces. Up there at number 1 with 97 points. In at 2 is Ulf Leanders and Dan Larson in 3rd. It's going to be a great year for top Methanol Funny Car. As you can see, Leif is excited as can be. Gets a hug from Ulf Leanders. After the break, we're on to top Methanol Dragster.
Welcome to the FIA European Drag Racing Championships. We're now going to be taking a look at top Methanol Dragster. Now, to help me talk to you about it, I'm here with Dave Wilson. Hello, Dave. Hi. Lovely to see you again. He's one of our veteran drivers.
Could call it that, yes.
So, Dave, top Methanol Dragster, what is it? And how does it differ from Top Fuel?
Well, it's very similar to Top Fuel. The cars are slightly shorter. The reason for that is they make slightly less horsepower. The Top Fuel car makes about 6,000-7,000 horsepower. We make about 3,500 horsepower. Because we only run on methanol, we don't have the advantage of having nitro, which is very explosive fuel.
Yeah, definitely. So, would you ever drive Top Fuel, or is it always going to be top methanol for you?
Well, I've actually got a Top Fuel licence. I went and did that a year or so ago, which was quite interesting, and it's a whole different experience completely. The car does go faster, obviously, but funnily enough, there's probably less things to do in the car.
Really?
We have 2 gear shifts and shift lights and all sorts of other things to be doing while we're actually on the run, whereas the Top Fuel car goes faster, obviously got a lot more power, and it's more like driving an automatic. You hit the pedal and it's either okay or it isn't.
Well, come on, Dave, now, you're getting on a bit here. Right, you've been doing it for a few years. Are you our oldest driver?
Not quite. I think there's 1 or 2 that are still around that are a little bit in front of me, but only slightly.
So it's a sport where your sell-by date doesn't matter?
Not really. I mean, I think if you can keep on doing it and you can keep on winning, then you must be managing. So.
And it keeps you young?
It doesn't do any harm.
Now, why Dave Grumpy Wilson? I see it's written on your dragster.
I have absolutely no idea.
He's not grumpy at all. Well, Dave, we're going to go to the qualifiers now, so good luck.
Yep.
We're all rooting for you. So without any further ado, I think we'll head over to the qualifiers for the top Methanol Dragster.
And qualifying puts us in front of this man to start off with. Here you are. This is Dave Grumpy Wilson. I know why they call him Grumpy, because he's always so happy. And here we see him qualifying alongside Great Britain's Rob Turner. Problems there for Dave Wilson, but Rob Turner, a 5.63. Cracking stuff from him. And coming out now, another major pair of contenders. From Germany, closest to the camera, Peter Schaffer. Furthest away from Sweden, that's Krista Johansson. And both of them running very, very nicely indeed. Also coming through from Germany, a very young man in the hot seat of one of these top Methanol Dragsters. He's part of the Habermann family. They all drag race in that family in Germany. It's just that Timo is in the most potent of all the cars and really starting to find form here with the top Methanol Dragsters. This is the table then. This is how it looks. 2 Brits, then a Brit and a German and a Swedish driver. It's going to be exciting.
Well, we're here in the pits with Germany's Peter Schaffer. Now, the team are working feverishly on the car to get it ready for the race against Christer Johansson in the quarterfinals. What we're going to do is just take a quick look at some of the preparations that the team make. As you can see, the engine is almost in pieces. The supercharger is still on top of the car. What they're doing is been working with the cylinder heads. They're just buttoning the clutch back up together now as well. The bell housing to contain that is going to go back on there and the gearbox go back in. These guys underneath here, these are what we call the divers. What they do is they do all the work on the bottom end of the engine. It's a really dirty and horrible job, but I'm sure they love doing it. They take care of all the bearings and make sure that everything goes back in the right place so it's all buttoned up to run against Christer.
I tell you what, I feel absolutely worn out just watching those guys work. It's the first of the quarterfinals then, and it's 2 Brits in there. The number 1 qualifier against the number 6. And here's John Parkinson going through with the burnout, and he must be thinking, am I really here with all these giant killers? Because he's up against Rob Turner. Rob Turner hails from Higham Ferris, which is just down the road from the track. And poor old John Parkinson really must think he's got to pray that something happens to the Turner's machine, because Rob Turner, with his brother Steve as crew chief, has really got his act together this weekend and cracks off a 575. John Turner loses out with a 772. Interesting stuff. I mean, John Parkinson is going to be coming back with a bigger machine. He's really just finding his way, isn't he?
Yeah, his first proper season driving the car. They had a bit of a torrid time last year trying to find a combination, but he did manage to beat Dave Wilson at one of the British rounds last year, so goes to prove it can be done. Next pair out, Dave Grumpy Wilson in the American Car Imports Caster Thousands, as we always call it, top Methanol Dragster, up against Timo Habermann. Now, both of these cars didn't run up to their usual potential in qualifying. We saw Dave have a lot of problems that he doesn't normally have, but hey,
no
550, 550, 252 miles an hour, much more like the form we expect to see from those guys.
Well, I'm looking forward to this one. Peter Schaffer from Germany, the number 3 qualifier, against Christer Johansson, the number 4 qualifier. Now, Darryl, totally different type of setup on Christer Johansson's car. I've got to tell you that I've known Christer as long as I've been in drag racing. He was racing this type of car 25 years ago, but what is different about the setup now?
Well, the difference about the setup now, as we can see with Peter Schaffer's car, it's actually got a supercharger on top of it, which means it runs on methanol. Christer's car is injected, but on nitromethane, so it should make roughly the same horsepower, but not this time. Peter Schaffer absolutely train links him, 551 to a 596. Christer had a nitro percentage reduction down to 98%, which hurt the car's performance, and I think he's going to be chasing his tail a little while this year, trying to find it and get the combination back to where it was last season.
Well, here we are. This is what the semi-finals looks like. Rob Turner's on a bye run, and we're going to be looking at that in the moment. But then that other pair coming up the other side of the ladder, Wilson against Schaffer. How many times have we seen that? It's just about to go with Rob Turner. Things are looking so good for the Turners here at the moment.
Yeah, Rob has done a real good job this weekend in at number 1 qualifier. First time he's done that for an awful long time, and I'm sure the team are going to be trying to step up on this one.
Well, let's just see what happens here. Rob's brother Steve takes him right up to the start line, punches the air in front of the car, and away goes Rob. Don't forget, he's got no opponent in the other lane, but he cracks off a 568, 229 miles an hour. Absolutely stunning. Well done to him. Now then, the second of those semi-finals, and we've seen these two go up against one another so many times. From Germany, it's Peter Schaffer, a previous top Methanol Dragster champion. From Great Britain, in the American Car Imports machine, it's Dave Wilson, the existing champion. Who's going to take this one? I think it's going to be won and lost on the start line. These two running almost identical times. This is so close. Look at this. Who gets it? Schaffer gets it. Peter Schaffer shuts down last year's champion. There's going to be a lot of happiness in that German pit.
Absolutely, that's the first time you've beaten Dave in a long time. How are you feeling?
We are in the final for such a long time. We haven't been in the final since the final 2003.
Dave, what happened? I spoke to you earlier today. We were going to win. It was going to happen. Tell us about the race.
Well, that might have been the plan, but it obviously went wrong somewhere. I think Peter cut a real good light on me. I know we ran a 48. I don't know what he ran. I guess it may have been a little bit slower, but he got there by 39 inches. So we're out.
Only 39 inches?
That's what they tell me. It looked in the car like I was in front, but it's hard to judge across the track, obviously, because of the angle. So Peter got there. Good luck to him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say, but we'll be back.
Well, he has previously been a champion in Top Methanol Dragster, always a hard competitor. This is Germany's Peter Schaffer.
Peter, you've made it into the final, but tell us, what are your hopes and fears of this race?
Our aim is winning. We make now a few changes and we hope it all works out.
Well, it's all previous champions, you know, in this final. Peter Schaffer, as I said, been a champion before, and so has this man, Great Britain's Rob Turner.
You're up against the very much back on form Peter Schaffer. He's having a great weekend as well. He wasn't qualified ahead of you, but he ran quicker than you in the semi-final. How do you think you're going to do against him?
If we can find the problem, it would be a close swim thing, I think. But we're changing some ignition components now and hope that will cure the problem.
Well, in the year of the World Cup, here we go, putting England against Germany again. And normally in the finals, so many times we've seen Dave Wilson out here, but this time, of course, it's Rob Turner. So who's going to take this one? They've both been running with a slight edge to Germany's Peter Schaffer, almost the same times here. Here we come up to the start line, and they're away together. Schaffer, though, immediately pokes the nose of that dragster out in front and gets the win. That was close, a 5:46 to a 5:61. Hey, let me tell you, he's back on form. And look at this. How long is it since we've seen that? Peter Schaffer on top of the leaderboard for 2006. Rob Turner in second spot. And the last year's champion, Dave Wilson, in third spot. How nice for these two to be on the winning podium. And will they be sharing the champagne? You bet they will.
Well, the day is drawing to an end. The sun is setting, and that's about all we've got time for. But what a weekend it's been, Daryl.
It's been fantastic. Today we see some great action from the Top Methanol boys, Top Methanol Funny Car and Top Methanol Dragster. Peter Schaffer taking his first win in a little while in Top Methanol Dragster, and Leif Andreasen getting right back on form. I don't think Leif's won for a few years now, but he's going to be so happy that he did win.
Yes, Leif was ecstatic earlier on. Well, don't worry, we're going to do it all again in Alastare. From us, it is goodbye, but we'll see you there.